This is the 1000 round review of the Lockhart Raven 5.56. This video has been a journey to get here. This rifle has thrown a lot of curveballs at me, but in the end, I still like it. So, this video is going to be broken up into a few different parts, and I'm gonna make timestamps of them so you can skip around if you want to. There will be some shooting footage throughout the video. So, the way I'm gonna structure this is I'm going to have some negatives first and some positives at the end. We'll see how long each section is. Just because the negative section might be longer doesn't mean there are more negatives than positives. It just means things need to be explained more if they're negative versus if they're positive. If something's good, you don't need to spend 20 minutes saying why it's good. So, without further ado, we'll get into the first negative. Now, that is the charging handle. This is the exact same charging handle as the Raven 9. Now, with the Raven 9, you can use an AR-15 top charging handle. It will standard come with the side charging handle, which can go on the left or the right. And on the Raven 5.56, it will not take an AR-15 charging handle. It uses a proprietary charging handle. It's a couple inches longer. So, that is where the conundrum comes in. It is $120 for this charging handle, which is not absurd if you compare it to, say, a Geisley, but it's pretty high compared to other charging handles, right? A mil-spec AR charging handle is 20 to 30 bucks. I have a latchless Blackhawk charging handle on my Raven 9 that was like 60 bucks. So it is a significant jump up. But this charging handle, the side charging handle, has one major flaw. It's threaded in poorly. Now, what do I mean by that? If you are using it on the left side, when you are pulling on the charging handle, you are pulling it towards the threaded side, so it's not going to come loose. However, on the left side, that is not the case. When you are pulling it, it is unscrewing it. And you will see in some of the footage that I have, I'm stopping for a second to retighten this because it's just coming loose. And the solution is spend 120 bucks on a top charging handle, which shouldn't be necessary, or move it to the other side. But that kind of kills the whole ambidextrous feature of it, right? You can get the brass deflector, which is also extortionate, by the way. You can get the brass deflector, and then you can't use it on the right-hand side anyway. But it's still, if it claims to be full ambi, I would expect it to work without flaw full ambi, and it just doesn't with the right side charging handle. Everything else ambi works fine. This does not. All right. Next negative. And that would be the bolt carrier group saga. Now, it appears the bolt carrier group saga is over. I ran 800 rounds and in one day, and nothing broke. Everything was totally fine. It's not a 10,000 round torture test like CFET will do, but I think it should be fine. It feels much more structurally sound. It definitely appears that way to me, especially in comparison to the Gen 1 bolt carrier. So the saga on a whole is good in that they sent out all the bolt carrier groups for free, as they should. The bad is that it took, 2-3 months, but that 2-3 months is over, and new Ravens are shipping with the new bolt carrier groups. So that is not a negative. It is now not a negative. It was in the past. There's that. One thing to note, at about the 500 round point in my 800 rounds in one day, the castle nut came loose. Now, that could just be me, that I didn't tighten it enough, because I took it off to install this sling loop. So, could just be me. I'll leave it at that. It's worth mentioning. Now, one thing I didn't experience that I have seen a few other people experience is that the Gen 2 bolt carrier is now experiencing some light strikes, which wasn't happening with the Gen 1. I had this happen one time, and I don't exactly know why it's happening. There are some theories that maybe the buffer weight is too little, and so it's not closing all the way on the chamber, and so it's not striking the primer properly, or it's not close enough to strike it properly. That could be it. It could just be that people weren't able to get high enough round counts on the Gen 1 bolt carrier because it cracked, and so they weren't able to see occasional ones. It could be down to your trigger. Like, the lighter the trigger, the more likely light strikes are to happen. This trigger in here is an ALG ACT. It's basically just a mil-spec trigger that's a bit smoother and is 4.5 pounds. So it's not too much different from a mil-spec. It's kind of in between a trigger tech and a mil-spec. So, I had it happen once. It's worth mentioning, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now, from here, I need to break down the rifle, and I need to explain one big thing. First of all, gonna have some dirty hands. I did not clean the bolt carrier group intentionally after 800 rounds to show the level of filth it achieved, and needless to say, there is a lot of carbon, but it's still operating smoothly, so take the victories where you can get them. Now, this was a problem for the entire duration of my 800 rounds I did in one day. And this was not a problem that I had in the previous roughly 250 or so. And that would be the bolt catch. Now, from day one, with the magazine that it came with, obviously not painted, but the paint is not affecting this in any way, I was having trouble with PMags and them not catching. Now, you can get them to catch. The problem is it takes a lot of force. And that, I believe, is coming from the bolt catch interfering with the lips at the back. Because on my cross mags, which appear to be slightly wider, I have absolutely no issue whatsoever. So I believe it is very magazine dependent. It could also be the generation. The Gen 2 PMag, which I believe this is, might have problems. I've seen Gen 3 with Windows and Gen 3 without work just fine, so it might just be a generation thing. Keep that in mind. But that was not the main thing. I believe this happened in the previous 250 before I did the 800 rounds, and that would be this. So, I believe because the PMag was interfering with the bolt catch was interfering with the feed lips, it caused some deformation. Now, right along the inside tract of the magwell, of the bolt catch, there was a bit of deformation. I'll put up a picture on screen. And it was causing the bolt catch to get stuck. I could not activate the bolt catch with my hands, and I could not activate the bolt catch by shooting. So, for almost the entire 800 rounds that I shot, I did not have a bolt catch. It just wasn't working. And I couldn't do anything while I was there because I didn't have a file to grind it down. So, my fix was pretty simple. I mean, you can kind of see. I filed down the inside track and the inside surface of this bolt catch, and everything works fine now. But still, that was annoying and contributed to my annoyance with the right side charging handle. But yeah, I don't know why something like this would even occur in the first place. Like, it's something that maybe is just a me problem. I've had a lot of me problems with this rifle that no one else seems to be having. Could just be another one. But if you have a Raven, let me know. Check out the wear on the inside of the tract here. Let me know if there's any deformation. All right. Now, last thing to get to in the negatives is the gas system. So, let me get this handguard off. Okay. So, the problem that I was having in my last video was rounds were not being picked up. They could be ejected, but they were not being picked up, which obviously makes the rifle completely unusable. Now, what I was told, or what I was given to fix it, was replacement parts for the gas block, not an entirely new gas block, just the plunger, the screws, and the ball, and the spring, and a drill bit, 7/64 drill bit, to drill a new hole in the gas block. Now, that worked 100%. It totally worked. I didn't have any feeding issues at all. Now, what it did do and was completely change the adjustable gas block for me. Now, I don't think this is much of a problem in Canada because suppressors aren't, adjustable gas blocks are most utilized when there's something like a suppressor. But it is still worth noting. I put the plunger to get it to run smoothly and less gassy almost all the way down. It's at like between 3 and 5 clicks right now. And most people are running their gas systems at like 15 to 20. So there is a significant amount more gas heading into the gas block. But it worked. Now, I believe they can, if you are not comfortable drilling at all, you can send in your rifle and they can drill the gas block hole for you. It is worth mentioning that everything that was sent out to me was covered by the warranty. So that's a positive. But this issue in and of itself is a negative. So that is the end of the negatives. Now on to the positives. And I will start with the positive of the warranty. Now, the warranty was used extensively through this for the Gen 1 bolt carrier group, for the parts on the gas block. For my Raven, I had warranty done. Raven 9, I had warranty for the bolt catch on that thing. So I've used the warranty service extensively. And I've always had a positive interaction with the warranty service and with Samuel from Lockhart. Now, I'm not a big enough YouTuber to, I think, warrant any special treatment. I mean, maybe I'm sure they know of my reviews, but I don't think I was getting any special treatment. Maybe your experiences differ. I would love to hear from you if you did, but my warranty experience throughout the whole thing was excellent. Willing to work with me, answer questions, try and figure out what the problems are, what the solutions were, sending out parts and fixes free of charge. It was an excellent service, and it never took more than a day for any problems to be worked out. So, with that, put the rifle back together, and we'll talk about some more positives. Now, on to the rest of the positives. The first positive, and the one that is noticeable straight out of the box, is the balance slash the weight of the rifle. The rifle is listed at 6.8 pounds, but quite honestly, it feels a bit lighter. It feels more like a 6-pound flat rifle, and that has a lot to do with the balance of it. It doesn't have a pencil barrel, but it has a tapered barrel, so it gets lighter as it gets out to the front, and it's not quite like the WK barrels where their barrels are good, they're just quite dense for what they are. And combine that with the handguard, which is very lightweight despite being an 18-inch handguard, you get a really nice balanced rifle. Most of the weight that you're going to be holding is going to be in the receiver and wherever your supporting front hand is, which means using it with an LPVO is even better because now all of your weight, you're not holding anywhere near as much weight out front, so you can more easily control the front end. That is a huge positive, one of the best things about the rifle for sure. The other thing that you will notice when you start shooting it is the recoil impulse. It is a much smoother operating system than the WKs, or than any piston gun, really. I mean, and that's how direct impingement works. Now, I never got to shoot an AR-15, so I can't compare directly, but I can say that it's so much smoother. It's so much tighter. It's like a well-oiled machine when it's working, which is so worth it over any of the WKs, the 7.62 or the 5.56 that I've shot. Other benefit is parts compatibility. It's not an AR-15, right? So it's not 100%. The bolt carrier group, or the bolt carrier, the receivers, and the controls, specifically the bolt catch and the mag release, are proprietary. Okay, that's fair. Everything else is AR-15, even the gas system, meaning you can very easily swap your AR parts over if you still have one that you haven't done that with yet. Or, more importantly, you can very easily buy whatever parts you want to make the rifle however you want it. That, and I'll get to that customizability in a second, but whether it be the handguard or the stocks or the triggers, there's so much you can do even right from the factory. And speaking of the controls on the Platinum version, the ambi controls, are very nice. They're very nice to use. The safety selector is not quite as nice as the CZ600 Trail. That one is still miles ahead of everything else I've ever tested. But it's very nice. It is a very positive click. The only reason it's behind the Trail is because it takes a bit more effort to actuate. But once it actuates, it's easy to move. It's a good size. I like the low profile nature of it, personally. And of course, the ambiness is great. The bolt catch and the magazine release, I think, are really well positioned. And while I had a problem with the bolt catch, that is a knock against it. The actual functioning of it is very nice. The only negative to the ambi is what I previously mentioned with the side charging handle. And of course, the ambi controls also include the top charging handle if you really want to go with that. Now, the handguard itself deserves a mention. Now, this is their own handguard, and I think it is one of my favorite handguards that I've had through any of my testing. I really like the TNA Corvinus M-Lock. I thought it was a great handguard, really lightweight, and I thought it looked great. But this handguard is really nice. I'm pretty sure they just sell this handguard. I don't think it would work with anything else because of the way it locks into place. But man, you get 4 QD points, you get a whole bunch of M-Lock, you get really lightweight weight, and you get really, really nice look. I think, looks-wise, one of the best handguards, personally. Now, I really like the 18-inch handguard look. If you don't, it would be great if they made a shorter version. I think this would look good in any length. But yeah, excellent handguard. Now, it does have a bonus feature that it has these screw holes where you can use their own Picatinny rail sections. I don't think it's worth it, and I'll get to more about the customizability from the factory. But that is a bonus of the handguard if you want to do that. Now, this is not related to the rifle itself, but I do want to mention it. The muzzle brake that I have on it, which is, I believe, the Mission First Tactical 3-prong ported muzzle brake, super good value muzzle brake. It is like $60 or $65, and this thing was shooting flat. I could easily hit steel rapid shots 200 yards, no problem. Super nice muzzle brake. I don't know if there's anything better for the price. The only negative I have is that you might be an asshole to the person next to you. Not a complete asshole. It's not a JMac brake, but it will be more noticeable than something like the AR-15 from TNA, which I also recommend. But that one is harder to get in 223, and it's about the same price. Now, one last thing, away from the positives I want to talk about, is about the configuration of the Raven. Now, you can buy the builder's kit, you can buy the gold version, you can buy the platinum version. And I'm going to say this. For the Raven 5.56, do not buy the gold. It is very similar to the McDonald's medium fries. You can look it up. It's a well-known thing that McDonald's prices their medium fries so close to the large that you may as well just spend the extra amount to buy the large. The medium fries are only there to upsell the large, and the gold does the same thing. The gold is so close in price and function to the platinum that you may as well just buy the platinum. Now, the function that you lose, and the big one, is the bolt catch. There's no last round bolt hold open on the gold, and having gone through 800 rounds without a last round bolt hold open, that fucking sucked. So, go for the platinum. The ambi controls, in my opinion, are worth it. However, I do want to mention this, and this is more feedback for the manufacturer. Change the gold. I know you're probably doing the McDonald's fries thing, but seriously, you gotta change the gold. Lower the price, remove the adjustable gas block, just make it a fixed gas block. Include a bolt catch, and nothing else. Include a one-sided safety if you really want to make the differential that much bigger. And you could lower the price by $100 by doing that, maybe. It is, seriously, the gold is just so not worth it. Just buy the platinum, unless they change the gold to something like what I said. Now, for the rest of the options, the muzzle brake that they offer, from what I've seen, is good. I don't think it's worth it. this muzzle brake that I have on here, that's so good. It's half the price of the one that they're offering. Why would you buy the one that they're offering? Or even if you went with the TNA Area 51 brake, again, that's half the price. I personally, I don't think theirs is worth it. If you really want the looks of it, go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it's value for money. Speaking of value for money, the M-lock slots that they have, don't buy them. I will just say, unless you, again, absolutely love the aesthetic of them, it is so not worth it. They are expensive, especially in comparison to the M-lock slots you can get. Like, you can get really cheap, reliable M-lock slots on eBay, on Amazon, hell, at a gun store, and just use the M-lock slots. They're there for a reason. I don't think the ones that they have with the screws are worth it for the money. That doesn't mean they're bad. I just don't think it's worth it. Now, you can buy the Raven without a handguard. And personally, I wouldn't. I think the handguard is really nice and it's worth using. But if you have another handguard that you absolutely love, just take the handguard off and drop the price. I think that's totally worth doing if you have another handguard you really love or you already have. The top charging handle is annoying because on the Raven 9, I'm going to say absolutely do not buy the one for the Raven 9 because you can get any AR-15 charging handle for cheaper and it's just as good. But that's not really the case with the Raven 556 because it's proprietary. You basically have to use their top charging handle. And so at 120 bucks, you're comparing it to something like the gas busting, Geisley charging handles. And yeah, I mean the charging handles from what I can tell is really nice. It's just it sucks that it's 120. I wish it would have been like $100 or $90. But if you really want full ambi controls, you really want the AR experience, go for it. Buy the top charging handle. It's not a cheap rifle to begin with, so you probably are okay with spending the extra money. But again, that's a personal choice. And the last thing I want to mention for the extras is the brass deflector. Now, these are starting to come out slowly, but they're not out fully yet as far as I'm aware. And I have a few things to say on it. One, functionally, it's not worth it. Brass was consistently ejecting to the roughly 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock position, not 6 o'clock. And, why do you need a brass deflector if it's, reliably shooting out brass back there? Well, the answer is aesthetic. If you really, really hate having brass markings on your receiver, well, then I guess you can maybe tape up this this receiver, or you can spend $120 on a fucking brass deflector. Personally, I think the price is just a complete ripoff. It is so above and beyond ridiculous. Like, it's a brass deflector. It's for it's $120 essentially for aesthetics, nothing else. Now, there was a guy on Reddit that reverse engineered it and 3D printed one, and it was like $5 to print or something. So maybe hit him up if you have a 3D printer and just print your own. But yeah, that's I don't think the brass deflector is worth it, but it's up to you if you really want the aesthetic of it. And that's about it. That is the Raven 556. I think there is a lot of good on this rifle, and a lot of that is probably because it's like 85 to 90% AR. But aside from that, I do think a lot of the ideas are really cool. The concept of the Raven and the swapping calibers is the best we have in Canada. If AR-15s returned, would the Raven do well? Probably not. If the AR-15 kept its restricted status, no matter the barrel length, then this would still sell because it would have a use for non-restricted shooting. But aside from that, it's a well-made rifle, but the company does have some issues, right? The bolt carrier group, granted the warranty, has been really helpful throughout the whole process. I had the gas port issue. It's a very similar situation to Kodiak or BCL, in my opinion, in that the warranty, from my experience, has been good, but I had to use it, and you never want to have to use it. And the rifle itself, I think this rifle is probably the best domestically made intermediate caliber rifle. The WKs are just, they're not bad, they're just a bit sloppy, and QC is a problem. The 181 is better on the design, but still, the BCL has a whole bunch of issues with reliability that I've seen. It's better, but it's still not quite as good as this. This really is as close to the whole package of an AR-15 as you can get, and I think this is really, really, really hard to beat in the market. That is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment your experiences with the Raven, whether they were positive or negative, and subscribe. Very, very close to 1,000 subscribers. Really appreciate if you've made it this far in this video. Why not just subscribe? Thank you for watching, and have a good day.